Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to chat about our feelings. I'm not going to get all woo-woo on you, but I do want to discuss how we feel about money. And the reason is because I think many of us have a little, I guess it's called restless intelligence when it comes to finances, and I need to explain what that means. Okay, well, let's go. Come on, it's coffee time. Did you like maths when you were a kid? Did you line up for that class super eager beaver for it to start? I didn't. I was always waiting for things like PE, which was sports, anything outdoors. That was my thing in early high school. I liked art, except for the teacher, and I also remember really liking cooking class and sewing class. Something doing, not sitting there with a paper and pen. My point is, when it comes to business finances, I also think we have so much crap going on inside our head that this restless intelligence is going off. Because after all, we are highly intelligent creatures and our brain tells us we should be able to get it. But do you remember in primary school or back in your high school days when you were faced with maths, not knowing the answers? I do. I hated maths at school. Like so much that if someone had told me that in my future I would be surrounded by numbers and love them as much as I do, well, I'm not going to use the choice words, but you can imagine what I would have said to them. When we're growing up, we have so many external influences. You might have grown up poor or in a family that struggled to make ends meet, living week to week. This was my upbringing, but I watched my parents work their asses off to keep the roof over our head and food on the table. In my late teens, I realised this and I started to see my relationship with money. Then I put my damn blinkers on and I did all the dumb shit anyway. But you know what? I don't regret it. I had to learn, albeit the hard way, but I had to go through it. I had to experience it for myself. So I've decided in this episode I'm going to call myself a recovering financial disaster. Do you like that term? Recovering financial disaster. Well, if the glove fits, I'm going to wear it. I think it's more important for us to recognise first, how do we feel about money? Is it our friend? Is it our foe? Actually, I've got a clip for you. I'm just going to play this super quick. It's from the Clubhouse conversation. Let me play that for you and I'm just going to grab a cup of coffee.
Money is a tool. That's my opinion of money. Money is definitely a tool. I consider money my friend because I work with it so much. It's like my little buddy, and it's just a little kind of fond terminology that I might be using that probably does need explanation because I don't look at it as good or bad. It is definitely 100% a tool. I get along with it, and I recognise by looking back over, all the years of being a kid and growing up and buying the cow and all that kind of stuff that, we've had good and bad times. And I think the reason why I brought friend to the table is because it can be kind of seen like a friendship. Some friendships that last a lifetime have rough patches, they're not always perfect. So when you think about, is money your friend, think about a long-term friend that you've had. It's not always peachy. You're not always on best terms. Maybe you have a little bit of a spat with each other and maybe don't get along, or you're not always fully in touch with each other all the time. So sometimes we take a break from our friends, not intentionally. Sometimes life just gets busy. So it kind of translates for me, when we think about, is money your friend? Are we catching up with it regularly? Is it at the top of our mind? Is it important? Just that kind of friendship is what I'm kind of thinking of.
Okay, I'm back. Let's play a little game together. When you think of money, do you love it or hate it? Your first answer is the right one. And by the way, there's no right or wrong answer. Second question, when you think of business finances, is that your friend? Again, your tummy just told you straight up. And this is all okay. You don't have to love either. Accepting your response to both questions is 100% needed. If you don't want to feel the way you do, you have the power to change it. Hang out with me for a little bit and we can touch base a little later and see how you're going. But identification is key. Now let's dive in a little deeper. Put your hand up if business finances make you feel queasy or even physically sick. Do you know why? Did you despise maths class? Did you have a relative that gave you a bad example? Did you lose your pocket money in a game of marbles when you were 8 years old? It only takes one tiny thing to turn us off something for life. And it can take a lifetime for us to not feel that way anymore. So here's another clip from Clubhouse to explain a little bit further.
And then it can be a roller coaster ride as well. Think about going to a theme park with your friend and you're going from here to there and doing all the things. And it can be something's good, something's not so good, and we have to check in. Sometimes we need to pick up the phone to our friend and say g'day, or sorry, Kerry would say g'day, Aussie. You know what I mean? You have those conversations, you just touch base with it, and that's how I feel about money. Is I do, I'm in that field, so obviously for me, checking in on it, touching base with it is very normal to me, and it's not going to be normal for everybody else. But I see it as it really can be if it's simple, and again, we come back to friends. Have you ever had a friend that has just been a little bit, maybe too much, and a little bit overwhelming? I've definitely had those friends.
So maybe you're on the fence. Perhaps you have a good year and then you have a bad one. You might have a couple of years in a row that can go either way. This is all okay. There's no rule book to life. There's no rule book to money. Many of the air quote great influencers will tell you, you can make $1 million in a weekend. Just follow my simple plan. What a crock of BS that is. And part of me wonders when we have that influence shoved down our throat on social media, if we don't then build a hate relationship with money because of pure disappointment, because we're constantly told you can do this if you only do that, and then you do this and you do that, and then it doesn't happen. Anyway, let me pack away my milk crate and play you one last clip from Clubhouse before we turn into our wrap-up session of today's episode.
I've actually had people give me feedback lately, Kim, I'm not sure if I've shared with you, that they, physically feel sick, like they actually feel ill about their finances. And other people have said publicly in this room, it's just not their jam. It's just not their favourite thing. And I get it because I don't read. I can't stand reading words. So that's not my favourite thing. And I'm sure there's a list a mile long of other things that I'm not, comfortable with, and things that I would much prefer to outsource. And some things I do outsource for that very reason. So I just, obviously from these conversations, just want everyone to realise it's okay.
So to wrap up this episode, I think the key takeaway for me, and I hope it's the same for you, is just let's have a think about it. Let's maybe identify how we feel about money and just be open and honest and have an open mind and know that it can change. It doesn't have to be the way it is, and it may not always be. We can't control the universe, and we certainly can't control sometimes how we feel. So I don't want you to beat yourself up about it, but just have that knowledge in your mind to know where you sit with the finances. And if it's not your jam, that's okay. There are plenty of people in this world that can help you. I'm certainly one of them, and I hope that this episode has certainly brought some value to you to think about your relationship with money. That's all for today. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been an amazing conversation once again. and I look forward to seeing you again next week. And until next time, happy Biz Beans to you.